Rin Yamaoka, known as the spirit in Dead by Daylight, is one of the romantic interests that the player can woo in Hooked on You, a Dead by Daylight dating sim. During the protagonist's vacation adventure, the haunting ghostly killer is less thirsty for blood but instead thirsts for a romantic relationship. Accordingly, the protagonist must do everything in their power to ensure the spirit falls in love with them. This feat is possible by selecting all the best options, reactions, or answers for the spirit of Dead by Daylight throughout the course of one's playthrough. At the beginning of the game, the player will be asked several questions about themselves after tossing the volleyball back to the group of 4 killers. While this personality quiz does not significantly impact the player's ending, it can spark the spirit's interest in the protagonist. Accordingly, the essential answers that the player should choose are average, flight, history, cat, and not working at all. The remaining responses are not as important for romancing the spirit. After being asked where the protagonist wishes to go, select lounging at the bar twice, which is the option on the far left. After arrival, the player should choose virgin daiquiri as their drink. This option opens up the most dialogue from the spirit killer from Dead by Daylight during this initial event. Romancing the spirit in Hooked on You. According to Steam user Loratonas, this is an index of important dialogue events with the spirit in Hooked on You, a Dead by Daylight dating sim. When the scenario occurs, select the correlating option provided for the best outcome, leading to a good ending with the spirit. Scenario 1. While lounging in the bar, spirit will approach the player and ask them what would be their desert island book. Best response, Dracula. Scenario 2. The bottle game does not matter. Conversely, the player should ensure they do not entirely fail during the meat slicing minigame. However, it is recommended to avoid achieving perfect timing for all the rounds since that will trigger an event with the Dead by Daylight Trapper. Nonetheless, after waking up on the beach with the spirit, she will start a conversation with the protagonist. Best responses, You've always been alone. Scenario 3. The spirit will ask what is inside the player. Best response, Nothing but darkness. Scenario 4. The 4 killers will gather around a campfire, and the protagonist must choose who will deliver a nighttime story. Best response, Choose the spirit. Scenario 5. After she's finished her performance, the player must choose how they will react. Best response, Say nothing. Hug her. Scenario 6. The spirit will ask the protagonist if they believe her. Best response, Who cares? Scenario 7. Before going to sleep, the player can choose who will accompany them by the fire. Best response, Choose the spirit killer from Dead by Daylight. Scenario 8. At the start of the next day, the player will visit the pool and then be given the choice of hanging out with their romantic interest. Best response, Choose the spirit. Scenario 9. The protagonist will accompany the spirit to the Black Lighthouse, where she will ask if the player needs help putting on lotion. Best response, Sure, why not? Scenario 10. The player will observe how she puts the lotion herself. Best response, Ask about the shards of glass sticking out from her. Scenario 11. After an inconsequential lotion rubbing minigame, the wraith will arrive and cause a stir. Best response, Choose the spirit. Scenario 12. The spirit will discuss the duality of a cherry blossom tree and how this characteristic makes the protagonist feel. Best response, Frustrated. Scenario 13. Once the event is over, the player must choose how they felt about how their date with the killer went. Best response, Be coy. Scenario 14. The servants, Dwight and Claudette, will await a response from the protagonist. Best response, Ignore them. Scenario 15. The killers will gather around the fire after nightfall for another storytelling event. They will ask that the protagonist tell a tale. Best response, choose I am not the storytelling type followed by be gracious. Scenario 16. Since the player will not tell a story, they need to pick someone else. Best response, choose the spirit. Scenario 17. After the campfire event is over, the player will visit the bar with the spirit, and Claudette will ask if the player drinks. Best response, stay sober. Scenario 18. When asked what the protagonist wants to order, they must choose one of 4 drinks. Best response, choose dark. Stormy. Scenario 19. Finally, before the day ends, the player is given the opportunity to eliminate a killer. Best response, choose anyone but the spirit. Scenario 20. On the next day, the player will receive a bouquet of flowers. Best response, choose to give the flowers to spirit. Scenario 21. After arriving at the Black Lighthouse again, the spirit will ask what the player wants to do. Best response, go up, maybe die. Scenario 22. The spirit and another killer get into a loud argument. Best response, say something. Scenario 23. The other killer will initiate a pop quiz with the protagonist, asking them several questions to see if they truly know the spirit. Best response, Q1, Rin Yamaoka, Q2, a dragon, Q3, restaurant, Q4, black, Q5, not being seen for who you are. Scenario 24. The protagonist will be given the choice of killing Dwight from Dead by Daylight. Best response, kill him. After passing the quiz about the spirit, the player will return to the Black Lighthouse to finish their date together. After a bizarre encounter with the 2 hosts and the spirit's grandfather, the protagonist will be given one more minigame to complete. Like most of the games before, the outcome of this one will not affect the ending. The player will have a passionate night with the spirit, after which the playthrough's final decision will occur. The spirit will kill Claudette and task the protagonist with doing the same to Dwight. As mentioned above, slaying Dwight will unlock the good ending, rewarding the player with special CG for their effort. However, those who choose not to spare Dwight and instead select I Never Loved You will receive the spirit's bad ending in this Dead by Daylight dating sim. Additionally, suppose the player made most of the right choices during their playthrough but failed to select the best options for the rest. In that case, the protagonist will likely receive the friend-zoned ending, resulting in the spirit only liking the player as a friend, not a lover. Hooked on You, a Dead by Daylight dating sim is available on Steam. Source, Steam user, Loratonas.
My heart returns to you.